As twilight descends, inviting a gentle calm, one can embark on a profound journey through the annals of ancient Greek mythology, where the very bedrock of divine authority was meticulously laid through subtle friction and enduring resolve. As the ambient light softens and the comforting weight of a blanket settles, the clamor of the day's events recedes into oblivion. Imagine oneself transposed to a sun-drenched hillside in ancient Greece, where the evening's ethereal mist tenderly caresses the gnarled olive trees, and the atmosphere is imbued with the delicate fragrance of wild thyme. It was in such serene settings that the venerable storytellers would convene, their voices hushed and deliberate, weaving narratives that predated the very footsteps of humankind upon the earth. Tonight, a captivating saga awaits. The chronicle of a conflict so understated, yet so meticulously protracted, that it spanned a full decade, fundamentally altering the fabric of existence itself. Now, as the lights dim, perhaps accompanied by the gentle hum of a fan providing a soothing background, the unfolding narrative is poised to commence. Long before the emergence of the Olympian deities familiar to all, Zeus wielding his formidable thunderbolts, Poseidon commanding the seas with his powerful trident, and Hades presiding over his shadowy dominion. A distinct lineage of divine beings governed the cosmos. These were the Titans, and their dominion was characterized not by tumultuous drama or spectacular displays of power, but by a steadfast, systematic order. One might envision them as celestial administrators, each meticulously overseeing a specific facet of reality with the patient precision of a scholar organizing an immense and ancient library. Kronos, their venerable leader, functioned with the meticulousness of a master clockmaker, ensuring the unimpeded progression of time at its appointed rhythm. His consort, Rhea, embodied the earth's boundless fertility, diligently supervising the unhurried ascent of mountains and the deliberate carving of river valleys. Oceanus, their kin, managed every solitary drop of water encompassing the known world, from the most delicate morning dew to the boundless, enigmatic seas stretching beyond the horizon. For untold millennia, this intricate cosmic apparatus functioned flawlessly. The Titans meticulously maintained reality, akin to expert horticulturists tending an expansive, verdant estate. Their governance was not predicated on fear or ostentation. Rather, they simply existed, as immutable and dependable as the daily sunrise. Each dawn, Helios would guide his radiant chariot of light across the celestial expanse, not in a fiery rush, but with the unwavering pace of one who had traversed this journey countless times before, and would continue to do so for countless eons to come. Yet change, much like water inexorably eroding stone, often progresses with such imperceptible slowness that its advent goes unnoticed until a sudden realization dawns. Everything has fundamentally transformed. Deep within the Earth's unexplored abysses, in caverns that had never known the touch of sunlight, a nascent stirring began. Not with dramatic seismic shifts or cataclysmic cosmic eruptions, but with the quiet, unyielding persistence of seeds germinating in the fertile darkness of the soil. The Titans harbored a burgeoning dilemma, one they had not yet fully comprehended. Some among them had begotten offspring, a younger generation of gods who were beginning to perceive the world through a novel lens. These were not impetuous adolescents seeking rebellion for its own sake. Rather, they were contemplative entities who had dedicated centuries to observing their progenitors, slowly and quietly arriving at the conviction that a more efficacious methodology for cosmic governance might exist. Zeus, still youthful by divine measures, yet already exhibiting nascent signs of the enduring patience that would define his subsequent reign, would often spend decades perched atop remote mountaintops, simply observing. He scrutinized his father, Kronos, noting how his rule was predicated on stringent control, never countenancing unforeseen alterations, never permitting the kind of creative dynamism that might foster new revelations. It was undeniably effective. But Zeus began to ponder if it was indeed the sole viable approach. His brethren and sisters harbored similar unspoken misgivings. Poseidon would spend eons submerged in the ocean's depths, attuning himself to the intricate communications of marine creatures that had never received official classification from the Titans. Hades delved into sprawling cave systems and subterranean rivers, uncharted on any of the cosmic cartographies. Hera meticulously observed the intricate patterns of weather and seasonal shifts, discerning subtle deviations that were not accounted for in the official records. None of them, precisely, were plotting a war. Wars were boisterous, destructive occurrences that shattered the meticulous order everyone had painstakingly labored to uphold. Instead, they were engaged in something more akin to a profoundly slow, exceedingly courteous academic discourse concerning administrative philosophy. They simply began to operate as if certain dictates of the Titans no longer applied to their burgeoning domains. Initially, these deviations were barely discernible. Zeus might subtly divert a storm cloud or two. Poseidon would gently alter the trajectory of a minor river. Hades might expand a cavernous system without submitting the requisite documentation to the Geological Management Department. These were minute adjustments, the kind of minor refinements that any proficient administrator might implement to enhance operational efficiency. However, the Titans had constructed their entire operational framework upon the principle that change should only transpire through sanctioned channels, subsequent to exhaustive deliberation and unanimous endorsement. Even minuscule, unauthorized modifications were akin to discovering hairline fractures in what was presumed to be an unblemished foundation. Kronos, with his meticulous devotion to temporal mechanics, was the first to detect that some of his meticulously crafted schedules no longer perfectly aligned with unfolding reality. The ensuing response was precisely what one would anticipate from efficient cosmic administrators. They convened a formal assembly. Envision the most rigid bureaucratic convocation imaginable, held within a conference chamber the size of a modest mountain, with Titans seated around a colossal table that could have served as a landing strip for aerial creatures, had such beings existed at that juncture. The discourse was impeccably polite, exhaustive, and utterly refined. Kronos articulated his apprehensions regarding unauthorized temporal adjustments. Oceanus highlighted certain inconsistencies in his aquatic management reports. The younger gods listened with respectful attention, offering plausible justifications for their actions. They were not being defiant. They steadfastly maintained. They were merely exercising innovation within the parameters of their designated responsibilities. This form of respectful disagreement persisted for several centuries. The Titans would issue gentle admonishments. The younger gods would acknowledge the feedback and persistently introduce subtle enhancements to their work. Both factions maintained impeccable professional decorum, while becoming increasingly convinced that the opposing group fundamentally misapprehended the intrinsic functioning of reality. Eventually, even the most patient administrator reaches a juncture where gentle corrections prove insufficient. The Titans began to deliberate more formal interventions, not precisely punitive measures, but perhaps an administrative restructuring designed to afford greater oversight of the younger generation's burgeoning creative impulses. Meanwhile, Zeus and his siblings had been conducting their own clandestine assemblies in various picturesque locales across the Mediterranean. Their discussions, too, were models of perfect civility, yet they were concurrently arriving at their own conclusions regarding the imperative for administrative restructuring. They were not plotting a coup, they reassured themselves. They were merely preparing to instigate a more adaptable management framework. Thus commenced what would become immortalized as the Titanomachy, not with overt declarations of war or dramatic confrontations, but with two distinct groups of cosmic administrators gradually recognizing that they harbored fundamentally irreconcilable visions for the optimal governance of the universe. It was a conflict that unfolded with agonizing slowness, almost imperceptibly, akin to a philosophical debate that incrementally escalates in significance until one's entire identity becomes inextricably linked to the vindication of their viewpoint. As one drifts towards slumber this evening, conjure the image of that ancient Greek hillside where the initial storytellers imparted these timeless narratives. Feel the cool evening breeze carrying the evocative scent of wild herbs. Listen to the gentle rustle of olive leaves in the soft wind and ponder the profound experience of an era when gods approached conflict with the measured patience of scholars, dedicating years to decisions that would irrevocably reshape the very essence of existence. What transpires when two factions of immortal beings discover an unbridgeable chasm in their fundamental understanding? The narrative will continue to unfold, tomorrow night delving into the plight of a particular Titan whose profound apprehension of the future would compel him to make choices that, at the time, seemed perfectly rational but would ultimately guarantee the very outcome he desperately sought to avert. As the initial murmurs of divine discord reverberated through the cosmic bureaucracy, one Titan found himself experiencing sleeplessness during hours when even immortal beings typically found repose. Kronos, the diligent custodian of time, had always prided himself on his systematic approach to problem-solving. But now, for the first time in millennia, he was assailed by an entirely unfamiliar sensation, profound worry. Envision Kronos within his sprawling administrative chambers, a vast expanse existing beyond conventional time, where thousands of cosmic chronometers ticked in flawless synchronicity, meticulously measuring everything from the majestic rotation of planets to the minuscule life cycles of the smallest insects. The walls were adorned with scrupulously maintained schedules, detailing the precise moment of every event destined to occur throughout the universe. It was within this sanctuary, surrounded by the reassuring predictability of temporal mechanics, that Kronos first began to grasp that his meticulously ordered world might not endure indefinitely. The genesis of the predicament, as was frequently the case in those epochal times, lay in a prophetic utterance. Yet this was no cataclysmic, world-altering declaration issued by enigmatic seers within dramatically swirling, smoky caverns. Rather, it had emanated from his own venerable mother, Gaia, during what was ostensibly a prosaic familial consultation concerning the necessary seasonal adjustments for the dawning millennium. Gaia had consistently embodied the most pragmatic spirit within their celestial kin, a quintessential earth goddess whose primary concerns gravitated towards the intricate nuances of soil composition and the robust architecture of root systems, rather than indulging in grandiose gestures. When she, with an almost incidental air, conveyed that one of Kronos' progeny was destined to eventually supersede him as the paramount cosmic administrator, her pronouncement carried the same dispassionate, matter-of-fact tonality she might employ when discussing optimal crop rotation schedules. It is merely the inherent rhythm of existence, she had elucidated, her voice imbued with the seasoned authority of one who had observed identical cosmic patterns recur across innumerable eons. Administrative frameworks inherently evolve, and novel management philosophies invariably emerge. The ascending generation invariably injects vibrant, fresh perspectives into established operational paradigms. For the vast majority of sentient entities, such a revelation might have been received as a comforting assurance, a gentle reminder that while change was an immutable force, it typically unfolded incrementally and frequently culminated in overall systemic enhancements. However, Kronos was decidedly not akin to most beings. He was a primordial deity of time, whose entire existence had been dedicated to meticulously upholding impeccable schedules, ensuring that every cosmic phenomenon transpired with unerring punctuality. The mere concept of unscheduled administrative transitions instilled within him an unprecedented form of temporal anxiety, a disquietude he had never before experienced. Consequently, he began to dedicate his quiescent hours to rigorous calculations, endeavoring to pinpoint the precise chronological juncture when this foretold changing of the guard might ultimately materialize. His sophisticated chronometers possessed the capacity to accurately predict the exact instant when distant stellar bodies would exhaust their incandescent fuel, when colossal mountain ranges would gradually erode into fine particulate matter, or when entire biological species would undergo profound evolutionary transformations into entirely disparate forms. Yet, they remained utterly incapable of informing him which of his burgeoning offspring would mature sufficiently to challenge his supreme authority, nor the precise methodology, nor the specific timing of such an event. This pervasive uncertainty manifested as a perpetual, low-grade throb of unease, a profound affliction for a being whose entire divine identity was meticulously constructed upon an infallible prescience of future occurrences. Kronos found himself scrutinizing his children with the meticulous attention typically reserved for someone proactively identifying nascent issues before they could escalate into full-blown crises. He observed Hades delving into subterranean realms that remained conspicuously absent from any official cartographic records. He noted Poseidon engaging in unsanctioned experimental manipulations of vast ocean currents. He perceived Hera orchestrating subtle alterations to atmospheric weather patterns, entirely devoid of proper bureaucratic documentation. Each minor innovation, each deviation from established protocol, resonated within him as irrefutable evidence of an impending, escalating systemic problem. These actions were not born of malevolent intent. Kronos comprehended that his children were inherently capable, intellectually astute beings who were simply striving to execute their designated functions with greater efficacy. Nevertheless, their evident willingness to unilaterally modify established systems without adhering to prescribed bureaucratic channels implied a fundamental disregard for the meticulously crafted order that underpinned the harmonious operation of the cosmos. The ultimate solution, when it eventually presented itself to his formidable intellect, appeared perfectly rational and unimpeachable. If the core issue stemmed from the potential for his children to eventually accrue sufficient power to contest his sovereign authority, then the unequivocally logical recourse was to preemptively prevent them from ever attaining that formidable level of influence. This was to be achieved not through punitive measures or dramatic confrontations, but through a straightforward administrative adjustment designed to keep them safely circumscribed within manageable, predefined parameters. Thus, Kronos reached the momentous decision to internalize his children. Now, to an external observer, this might conceivably sound like a barbaric, impetuous course of action. However, from Kronos's own meticulously ordered perspective, it represented a remarkably benign and elegantly efficient resolution to a multifaceted administrative challenge. He was not engaging in the wanton destruction of his progeny. Destruction was inherently wasteful and invariably generated unnecessary cleanup complications. Instead, he was merely effecting their relocation to an exceedingly secure internal environment where they would be utterly incapable of instigating unscheduled disruptions to critical cosmic operations. From within his divine interior, his children, he reasoned, would remain perfectly safe, utterly comfortable, and perpetually nourished. They would continue their existence, their cognitive processes, and the gradual development of their inherent abilities, albeit within a stringently controlled milieu where their burgeoning innovations could not inadvertently compromise the delicate, intricate mechanisms responsible for maintaining the fundamental fabric of reality. It was, Kronos steadfastly assured himself, a temporary, yet entirely judicious, security measure engineered to safeguard the best interests of all involved parties. The actual process itself unfolded with surprising lack of theatrics. As each child made their nascent appearance, Kronos would simply lift them with the deliberate precision of an expert handling fragile, intricate equipment, open his colossal mouth, and consume them whole. There was no discernible anger, no overt violence, no bombastic pronouncements concerning power or predetermined destiny. Merely a father executing what he perceived as a perfectly rational decision to protect both his immediate offspring and his overarching cosmic responsibilities. Rhea, his devoted consort, found this peculiar behavioral pattern somewhat disquieting. Not because she genuinely believed Kronos was acting cruelly. She possessed a profound understanding of his underlying rationale and deeply appreciated his unwavering commitment to preserving universal stability. But rather, she pondered whether there might exist alternative methodologies that did not necessitate such extensive internal child storage. Her gentle, tentative suggestions, which included the prospective development of a secure cosmic daycare facility or the implementation of a meticulously structured mentorship program, were consistently met with Kronos's patiently delivered expositions on the imperative of rigorous risk management and the paramount importance of administrative efficiency. Years seamlessly elapsed, and the established system appeared to function with flawless precision. Each new celestial infant was safely internalized the moment of their arrival, effectively precluding any possibility of future administrative conflicts. Kronos's meticulously calibrated schedules remained impeccably precise. His vast cosmic operations continued without the slightest disruption, and the universe maintained its delicate, intricate order with unwavering consistency. Within his divine interior, his children continued their developmental trajectory in what was, in essence, an exceptionally exclusive and highly controlled educational environment, assimilating profound insights into the nature of reality from an unprecedented internal vantage point, all while remaining safely incapacitated from making any unauthorized modifications to universal systems. However, Rhea, endowed with the Earth Goddess's innate and profound comprehension of natural cycles, began to discern that this seemingly perfect solution might in fact be inadvertently generating novel complications, even as it ostensibly resolved existing ones. While the children were no longer causing external disruptions, they were simultaneously failing to acquire the crucial skills necessary for operating effectively within established systems. Instead, they were independently formulating their own distinct concepts of cosmic management in complete and utter isolation from the prevailing administrative structures. She commenced engaging in hushed, discreet conversations with other venerable family members regarding the long-term viability and sustainability of Kronos' chosen approach. Her mother-in-law, Gaia, listened with the profound, patient attention of one who had witnessed countless administrative transitions unfold over countless millennia. The ancient goddess gently articulated that prophecies, by their very nature, possessed an uncanny propensity for self-fulfillment, irrespective of the elaborate precautions undertaken to avert them. Occasionally, Gaia sagely observed in her characteristically practical manner, "The very actions we undertake to circumvent a perceived problem ultimately become the precise catalysts that bring about the very predicament we were so assiduously striving to avoid." Rhea dedicated extensive hours to profound contemplation of this profound insight. She fully grasped Kronos' genuine concerns. The maintenance of cosmic order was undeniably a profoundly important undertaking that demanded meticulous attention to detail and an unwavering respect for established procedures. Yet, she also understood with crystalline clarity that their children were steadily developing their own formidable capabilities and unique perspectives, and that, inevitably, they would require active participation in cosmic management, irrespective of whether Kronos was psychologically prepared for their involvement. When she discovered she was pregnant once more, Rhea found herself confronted with an agonizingly difficult decision. She could acquiesce to Kronos' continuation of his security protocol, thereby ensuring another generation of contained, yet inherently isolated, divine development. Alternatively, she could endeavor to implement a radically different approach, one that simultaneously acknowledged both the critical importance of cosmic stability and the immutable inevitability of administrative evolution. As one settles deeper into comfort tonight, endeavor to envision the immense gravity of such momentous decisions, the delicate, intricate balance required between providing protection and fostering essential development, between meticulously maintaining existing order and courageously allowing for transformative growth. Picture Rhea traversing moonlit groves, acutely aware of the nascent life burgeoning within her, all while contemplating choices that would irrevocably impact not merely her immediate family, but the fundamental, overarching nature of divine governance itself. Sometimes, the most profound act of parental love manifests as trusting one's children to forge their own distinct path, even when that trajectory leads into the vast, uncharted territory of uncertainty. Tomorrow night, we shall unveil how one secretly hidden infant would mature far removed from the meticulous order of his father's rigidly controlled world, assimilating lessons that would meticulously prepare him for an entirely different, revolutionary form of cosmic leadership. Ultimately, Rhea chose the audacious path of trust over the perceived safety of security, though her momentous decision would necessitate the kind of elaborate, intricate deception that only a mother driven to desperation could conceivably devise. When the appointed time arrived for her youngest child to enter the world, she journeyed far from Kronos' temporal headquarters, seeking refuge on the verdant island of Crete, where ancient labyrinthine caves carved themselves deep into the limestone mountains, effectively concealed even from the most sophisticated cosmic monitoring systems. The particular cave she selected had been sculpted over millions of years by the patient, ceaseless action of water, each delicate drop meticulously fashioning smooth, organic curves within the stone walls. It was naturally illuminated by shimmering pools of pristine natural springs that captured and reflected whatever ambient light managed to filter down from the world above. Here, within this tranquil sanctuary, a secluded haven that existed entirely outside normal administrative channels, Zeus made his momentous entrance into the world. Not with thunderous claps or flamboyant cosmic fanfare, but with the gentle, soothing sounds of water softly dripping and the hushed whispers of wind sighing through hidden secret passages. Rhea understood the urgent ticking of the cosmic clock, knowing she had but a precious few hours before Kronos would anticipate the arrival of their newest progeny. With the meticulous precision of a strategist who had silently cultivated this audacious plan over countless eons, she carefully swaddled a substantial stone within layers of plush, comforting blankets, fashioning a surrogate bundle that, to any casual observer, perfectly mimicked the reassuring weight and form of a slumbering infant. She cradled this clever deception with an almost reverent, protective tenderness, acutely aware that the success of her elaborate charade hinged entirely upon the absolute conviction of her performance. When she presented the cleverly disguised package to Kronos, her visage artfully conveyed the precise emotional tapestry, a delicate blend of profound maternal devotion interwoven with a weary, yet profound acceptance of his unyielding security protocols. Kronos, his focus singularly absorbed by the efficient implementation of his established containment procedures, accepted the bundle with his characteristic, unwavering methodicalness, and, without a flicker of hesitation, swiftly consumed it. The dense stone settled imperceptibly within his divine interior, coming to rest alongside his other offspring, utterly indistinguishable from them unless subjected to an extraordinarily thorough and meticulous examination. Meanwhile, nestled deep within a secluded Cretan grotto, the true Zeus commenced his formative education in a radically divergent philosophy of cosmic stewardship. Far removed from the rigid frameworks of precise schedules and formal administrative directives, his early lessons revolved around the paramount principles of adaptation and inherent resourcefulness. The benevolent nymphs entrusted with his care were veritable savants in harmonizing with natural systems, forces that defied direct control, demanding instead profound understanding and collaborative engagement. They meticulously instructed him to discern the subtle atmospheric shifts that heralded impending weather patterns, to interpret the cyclical rhythms of seasonal water levels, and to align his actions with the inherent currents of natural phenomena, rather than attempting to impose an artificial, predetermined order upon them. His tender years unfolded amidst the exploration of intricate cave networks, realms that had never submitted to official cartography, where he honed his ability to navigate by the nuanced interplay of touch, sound, and primal instinct, rather than by relying on rigidly predetermined pathways. He engaged in spirited games that demanded instantaneous adaptation to fluid circumstances, rather than the slavish adherence to established regulations. Unbeknownst to him, through these immersive experiences, he was organically cultivating an entirely distinct paradigm for cosmic governance, one fundamentally rooted in profound flexibility and innovative problem-solving, rather than the restrictive confines of inflexible administrative authority. The venerable goat Amalthea, whose abundant milk provided his daily sustenance, imparted to him perhaps the most seminal lesson of all: that true leadership sometimes necessitated an unwavering focus on addressing immediate, tangible needs, rather than becoming mired in abstract, long-term theoretical projections. She demonstrated that an effective leader's attention must extend to ensuring the actual well-being and flourishing of every individual under their charge, not merely to confirming that official systems were operating precisely according to their prescribed specifications. As Zeus progressed from vulnerable infant through inquisitive child to burgeoning young adult, a nascent understanding began to crystallize within him. His unconventional upbringing was meticulously preparing him for a role of profound significance. The nymphs, on occasion, would share hushed narratives concerning the broader cosmic panorama, the escalating tensions between the venerable titans and the burgeoning generation of younger deities, the increasing ossification of established administrative frameworks, and the detrimental ways in which rigid adherence to antiquated procedures was impeding crucial adaptations to an evolving cosmic reality. He learned of his siblings, ostensibly safeguarded within their father's protective custody, yet tragically incapacitated from contributing their unique capabilities to the grand tapestry of cosmic management. He came to comprehend that his own existence was a closely guarded secret, that his mother had gambled everything to afford him the invaluable opportunity to cultivate his inherent talents within an environment where he could foster independent thought concerning complex administrative quandaries. The years unfolded within the cavernous sanctuary, measured not by the precise ticks of official chronometers, but by the organic cadence of seasonal transformations and profound personal evolution. Zeus cultivated the profound patience of one who had learned the wisdom of awaiting the opportune moment, rather than attempting to force premature solutions dictated by arbitrary schedules. He sharpened the incisive observational faculties of an individual who had come to comprehend intricate systems through diligent, attentive scrutiny, rather than by merely consulting prescriptive instruction manuals. Most crucially, he began to articulate a visionary framework for alternative approaches to cosmic governance, methodologies that would seamlessly blend the inherent stability cherished by the Titans with the dynamic flexibility demanded by ever-shifting circumstances. He envisioned administrative architectures capable of adapting gracefully to unforeseen challenges without compromising their fundamental integrity, and leadership paradigms that could uphold order while simultaneously fostering innovation and ingenious problem-solving. When the full, chilling scope of his father's security protocols was finally unveiled to him, Zeus felt not the searing heat of anger, but a profound, contemplative sadness. He grasped that Kronos' drastic actions stemmed from a genuine, albeit misguided, concern for preserving cosmic equilibrium. Yet he simultaneously recognized that those very actions were tragically stifling an entire generation of capable beings, preventing them from deploying their unique aptitudes for the collective cosmic good. The true solution, he reasoned, lay not in outright condemnation of his father's methods, but in the creative development of superior alternatives that could address the same fundamental concerns with far greater efficacy and foresight. As he attained full maturity within his concealed refuge, Zeus cautiously initiated discreet contact with other members of his extended family, who shared his growing disquiet regarding the prevailing administrative arrangements. These were not clandestine conspirators plotting a violent insurgency, but rather thoughtful, discerning beings exploring the profound possibilities for evolutionary transformation, changes that held the potential to benefit every party involved, including the very titans whose diligent efforts had, for so long, meticulously maintained cosmic order. Allow your imagination to wander, carried by the ethereal murmur of water coursing through ancient limestone passages, the gentle, resonant echo of solitary drops descending into tranquil, still pools. Envision a childhood spent in a realm where the very walls imparted lessons in enduring patience, where each passing day unveiled novel insights into the subtle, intricate mechanisms by which natural systems perpetually sustain their delicate equilibrium. On the morrow, we shall delve into how one nascent god's carefully cultivated education in unconventional management philosophies would ultimately inspire countless others to fundamentally question whether the ancient ways were, in truth, the only conceivable paths forward. While Zeus and his burgeoning cohort meticulously refined their intricate blueprints for administrative restructuring, they gradually became aware that their concerns about the existing cosmic management paradigms were not solitary. Deep within the Earth's hidden strata, in locations that transcended conventional geographical mapping, other formidable entities had been dedicating centuries to pondering analogous problems, each from their own profoundly unique vantage points. The colossal giants, the skilled cyclopes, and the formidable hundred-handed ones had been consigned to subterranean installations, not because they posed an inherent danger or lacked competence, but precisely because their unconventional natures proved incompatible with the meticulously structured organizational frameworks that the Titans had devised for overseeing cosmic operations. Their inherent capabilities were undeniably awe-inspiring, yet their methodologies were so inherently unorthodox that they resisted seamless integration into the established, hierarchical administrative systems. The Cyclopes, for instance, were unparalleled master artisans, possessing an intuitive grasp of materials and manufacturing processes that vastly surpassed anything officially codified within Titan engineering compendiums. They possessed the singular ability to forge tools and construct structures that married profound functionality with breathtaking aesthetic grace, achieving feats that conventional production methodologies simply could not replicate. However, their creative process was characterized by intuitive leaps and bold experimental approaches that defied reduction to standardized procedures, rendering it impossible to assimilate their unique talents into systems that demanded predictable, reproducible outcomes. The hundred-handed ones commanded organizational capabilities that held the potential to utterly revolutionize large-scale project management. Yet their operational methodologies involved simultaneous multitasking on a scale so vast that traditional oversight mechanisms proved utterly incapable of monitoring or evaluating their progress. They could orchestrate dozens of intricate operations concurrently, adapting their strategies in real time as circumstances shifted, but they struggled to articulate their complex decision-making processes in ways that conformed to conventional administrative documentation requirements. The giants embodied raw, unyielding power and immense endurance, qualities that could resolve specific categories of cosmic maintenance challenges with far greater efficiency than any existing methods. However, their inherent working style prioritized immediate, tangible, practical results over strict adherence to established protocols. While perfectly capable of following directives when necessary, their effectiveness reached its zenith when they were given broad objectives and entrusted with the autonomy to determine their own optimal methods for achieving them. All of these extraordinary beings had been sequestered within secure underground facilities, not as a punitive measure, but rather as a form of administrative quarantine. The Titans, in their pragmatic wisdom, recognized their immense value and sought to preserve their unique capabilities for potential future deployment. Yet they found themselves stymied, unable to devise a coherent strategy for integrating such unconventional resources into their meticulously structured management systems. Consequently, they had established comfortable, well-appointed subterranean workshops where these powerful, albeit unorthodox allies could continue to refine their abilities without introducing disruptive complications into the daily rhythm of cosmic operations. From their secluded subterranean vantage point, the giants, cyclopes, and hundred-handed ones had observed the gradual escalation of administrative tensions with keen and discerning interest. They understood, perhaps more profoundly than anyone else, how truly innovative capabilities could be stifled and diminished by an excessive, unyielding focus on procedural compliance. They had spent countless centuries refining their skills in isolation, perpetually imagining how their formidable abilities might contribute to the development of more flexible, more effective approaches to cosmic management. As Zeus embarked upon his meticulous investigation into potential allies for his ambitious proposal concerning administrative restructuring, it was an inescapable conclusion that the formidable subterranean inhabitants would eventually be brought to his attention. The crucial link between the Olympian leader and these hidden powers had been forged through an intricate web of informal communications, a network that had subtly developed over countless centuries among diverse entities who shared a collective sense of marginalization from the established official decision-making processes. The inaugural assembly convened within a cavernous underground chamber, a space meticulously sculpted from the unyielding bedrock through cyclopean engineering techniques that remained conspicuously absent from any conventional architectural compendiums. The expansive interior was illuminated by an array of crystalline formations, naturally imbued with their own intrinsic luminescence, thereby creating an ambiance that was simultaneously practical in its clarity and strikingly beautiful in its ethereal glow. Zeus found himself profoundly impressed, not merely by the sheer technical sophistication inherent in the environment's construction, but more significantly, by the compelling manner in which it unequivocally demonstrated the seamless integration of functionality and aesthetic appeal when creative capabilities were permitted to operate unfettered by excessive bureaucratic strictures. The ensuing dialogue diverged dramatically from any diplomatic negotiation that had previously transpired within the annals of cosmic politics. Rather than adhering to the rigid formalities of prepared presentations and official declarations of stance, the exchange more closely resembled a dynamic, collaborative brainstorming session, where each participant freely contributed their unique perspectives on shared, universal challenges. The colossal giants, for instance, articulated their observations regarding the practical impediments encountered when attempting to implement top-down management directives without meaningful input from the very beings who would ultimately bear the responsibility for their execution. The skilled cyclopes, in turn, voiced their profound frustrations concerning procurement systems that invariably prioritized stringent cost control over the vital aspects of innovation and inherent quality. Meanwhile, the hundred-handed ones, Hecatonchires, elucidated how their extraordinary multitasking capabilities could fundamentally revolutionize project coordination, provided they were permitted to operate within flexible frameworks, capable of adapting fluidly to evolving requirements. Zeus swiftly apprehended that these prospective allies were not merely offering raw, formidable power to bolster his burgeoning cause. Far beyond brute strength, they were bringing to the table sophisticated insights and alternative methodologies for navigating complex organizational challenges. Their prolonged period of isolation had inadvertently afforded them ample time to meticulously cultivate and refine innovative ideas concerning the potential amelioration of cosmic management systems. Furthermore, their inherently unconventional perspectives had uniquely positioned them to identify fundamental problems and conceive ingenious solutions that more traditional, established thinkers might inadvertently overlook or dismiss. The alliance that gradually began to coalesce from these profound discussions was firmly predicated upon a shared, unwavering commitment to enhancing cosmic management outcomes, rather than being driven by personal ambition or any inherent desire for dominion. Every entity involved in these nascent proceedings implicitly understood that their individual capabilities would attain their maximum effectiveness only when seamlessly integrated into collaborative systems. Such synergistic frameworks would not only permit each participant to contribute their distinct strengths, but would also ensure cohesive support for overarching common objectives. The resourceful Cyclopes magnanimously offered their unparalleled expertise to forge specialized tools, instruments designed not as armaments for violent confrontation, but rather as sophisticated mechanisms capable of augmenting the efficacy of various cosmic management functions. These innovative implements, they proposed, could facilitate the resolution of intricate administrative challenges with greater efficiency and elegance than any currently available methods allowed. The prodigious hundred-handed ones put forth comprehensive coordination systems, meticulously engineered to manage a multitude of complex operations simultaneously, thereby circumventing the very bureaucratic bottlenecks that had historically impeded and protracted crucial decision-making processes. The mighty giants, for their part, volunteered their immense capabilities for undertaking large-scale infrastructure projects, initiatives poised to fundamentally improve the foundational frameworks within which cosmic management presently operated. In a reciprocal gesture, Zeus and his esteemed companions presented these potent allies with an invaluable opportunity to actively participate in the development of novel approaches to cosmic governance. These new paradigms would consciously value creative problem-solving and flexible adaptation, holding them in equal regard with traditional concerns for stability and established order. Their shared vision encompassed administrative systems capable of incorporating unconventional capabilities and diverse perspectives, all without compromising the inherent reliability and steadfastness that had, for so long, underpinned the successful management of the Titans. As these clandestine underground meetings continued with increasing frequency, the participants collectively began to realize that they were cultivating something far more significant than mere strategic partnerships. They were, in fact, laying the very groundwork for a comprehensive alternative to the existing cosmic management structures. This was not envisioned as a radical replacement designed to dismantle every achievement the Titans had meticulously constructed, but rather as an organic evolution. Such an evolution would judiciously preserve their enduring accomplishments, while simultaneously integrating novel capabilities and innovative approaches, thereby enabling the more effective address of emerging universal challenges. The planning process itself served as a compelling demonstration of the collaborative, adaptive principles they earnestly hoped to implement on a grand cosmic scale. Eschewing rigid hierarchical structures, they instead cultivated flexible working relationships, meticulously designed to reconfigure as circumstances demanded, thereby effectively addressing the multifaceted aspects of their shared objectives. Rather than becoming entangled in the creation of excessively detailed, long-term blueprints that risked obsolescence even before their implementation, their collective focus remained steadfastly on establishing fundamental common principles and assiduously developing the inherent capabilities they would require to respond effectively to whatever challenges and opportunities might ultimately arise. One might contemplate those magnificently luminescent crystal chambers nestled deep within the Earth's core, where formidable beings, endowed with truly unconventional capabilities, dedicated centuries to conceiving ideas destined to fundamentally reshape the very nature of divine governance. One could envision the patient, painstaking labor involved in meticulously building trust and fostering mutual understanding across a spectrum of divergent perspectives and approaches. This process led to the gradual, profound recognition that a rich diversity of capabilities could, in fact, prove to be an unparalleled source of strength, rather than merely representing an additional management challenge. The unfolding narrative would soon reveal how these subterranean alliances would eventually ascend from the depths and emerge into the full light of day. The culmination of these profound philosophical discussions and the forging of underground alliances eventually necessitated a more formal organizational structure. This imperative arose not from any inherent eagerness for direct confrontation, but rather because the fundamental disparities between traditional and innovative approaches to cosmic management had grown too significant, rendering resolution through informal negotiations utterly unfeasible. Both factions implicitly understood that some form of structured process would become absolutely essential to definitively determine which administrative methodologies would ultimately guide universal operations into the future. The deliberate choices made for their respective headquarters conspicuously mirrored the fundamental divergences in their organizational philosophies. The Titans, for their part, established their primary base of operations atop Mount Othris, a peak that quintessentially embodied every principle they cherished regarding proper cosmic management. The mountain itself possessed an impeccably geometrical form, its slopes ascending at precisely calculated angles that served as a profound demonstration of the inherent beauty of mathematical order meticulously imposed upon natural chaos. Every designated path leading up the mountain adhered to predetermined routes, which had been rigorously surveyed and formally approved by specialized geological engineering committees. Furthermore, every edifice constructed upon the summit scrupulously conformed to architectural standards that had been refined and perfected over millennia, optimizing both functional utility and the powerful symbolic representation of established authority. From their commanding vantage point atop Othrys, the Titans possessed the strategic capacity to survey vast territories with the comprehensive perspective deemed indispensable for effective administration. They could meticulously monitor compliance with established procedures, swiftly identify any deviations from approved protocols, and efficiently coordinate responses to a myriad of challenges, an efficiency directly attributable to their clear hierarchies and meticulously defined responsibilities. Mount Othrys, therefore, functioned as an administrative nerve center, purposefully designed to demonstrate that cosmic order was not only eminently achievable, but also aesthetically beautiful, provided everyone committed wholeheartedly to operating within established systems. Zeus and his confederates, conversely, established their headquarters on Mount Olympus, a peak that more accurately reflected their distinctly different approach to organizational challenges. Olympus, though higher than Othrys, derived its impressive elevation from natural geological processes, rather than from any deliberate engineering or human intervention. Its slopes were notably varied and inherently unpredictable, offering a multiplicity of paths to the summit, and thereby compelling travelers to adapt their routes dynamically based on fluctuating conditions and their individual capabilities. The structures that gradually began to appear upon Olympus were thoughtfully designed to harmonize with the mountain's existing natural features, rather than imposing preconceived architectural concepts upon the pristine landscape. The striking contrast between these two chosen locations was by no means accidental. It profoundly represented a fundamental philosophical disagreement concerning whether effective management truly necessitated controlling natural systems, or conversely, learning to work cooperatively and harmoniously with them. From Olympus, Zeus and his companions could observe the identical vast territories that the Titans vigilantly monitored from Othrys. However, their perspective inherently emphasized the intricate, interconnected complexity of those systems, a stark departure from the hierarchical relationships that the Titans' model of administrative control inherently required. Both mountains thus became pivotal centers for intensive organizational development. As each side meticulously prepared to demonstrate the superior effectiveness of their respective approaches, the work proceeding on each peak bore remarkable similarities in numerous aspects. Both groups were comprised of highly competent, profoundly dedicated beings, each genuinely committed to the overarching objective of improving cosmic management outcomes. Both were diligently developing sophisticated strategies specifically tailored for addressing various universal challenges, and critically, both were actively engaged in creating intricate organizational structures, meticulously designed to coordinate complex operations with optimal efficiency and unwavering effectiveness. However, the core tenets underpinning their respective endeavors diverged profoundly. On Othrys, the Titans devoted their energies to meticulously refining frameworks designed to perpetually uphold equilibrium and systematic regularity, irrespective of shifting external conditions. They meticulously crafted exhaustive protocols for every imaginable contingency, leaving no scenario unaddressed, implemented robust, multi-layered oversight mechanisms to rigorously ensure unwavering adherence to established operational directives, and cultivated highly specialized cadres rigorously trained to expertly manage a diverse spectrum of administrative complexities through time-tested methodologies. On Olympus, the emphasis was concentrated on forging capacities inherently capable of fluidly adjusting to unforeseen obstacles and emerging prospects. Zeus and his allies engineered supple organizational architectures, readily reconfigurable in response to shifting exigencies, articulated broad guiding principles intended to inform strategic choices amidst unprecedented circumstances, and fostered both individual prowess and synergistic collaborative competencies, empowering them to devise pioneering resolutions for issues previously unencountered. The formative period on both elevated domains encompassed an extended span of diligent exertion, more akin to rigorous scholarly inquiry than to the swift orchestration of military forces. The Titans undertook exhaustive examinations of extant cosmic management frameworks, meticulously pinpointing domains where enhanced operational efficacy could be realized via superior alignment and more stringent regulatory vigilance. They instituted comprehensive training curricula, meticulously fashioned to guarantee that every individual within their ranks fully grasped their distinct functions and obligations within the established hierarchical constructs. Furthermore, they engineered sophisticated communication networks designed to sustain unfailing interdepartmental connectivity across diverse administrative sectors, irrespective of prevailing cosmic phenomena. Concurrently, Zeus and his cohort dedicated their intellectual energies to deciphering the intricate web of interdependencies linking various cosmic architectures. They actively sought out critical leverage points, recognizing that judicious, minor alterations could catalyze substantial advancements in overarching cosmic performance. They pioneered innovative collaborative problem-solving methodologies, adept at synthesizing disparate viewpoints and competencies to confront complex, multifaceted dilemmas. Furthermore, they devised dynamic learning infrastructures, empowering all participants to cultivate novel proficiencies and deepen their comprehension as situational parameters continuously transmuted. Perhaps the most salient distinction between the two factions manifested in their respective philosophies concerning the cultivation of alliances. The Titans extended overtures to a multitude of cosmic entities, presenting them with meticulously delineated positions within amplified iterations of pre-existing administrative frameworks. Their overtures underscored the inherent security and unwavering stability afforded by operating within well-established, validated systems. They highlighted prospects for professional progression, attainable through proven proficiency in executing established operational protocols, and emphasized the profound gratification derived from actively contributing to the preservation of cosmic regularity and universal harmony. Conversely, the Olympians engaged prospective confederates by meticulously investigating how their distinctive aptitudes could be leveraged to forge groundbreaking resolutions for collective predicaments. Their dialogues centered on discerning shared aspirations and devising synergistic methodologies capable of realizing those aims with greater efficacy than any solitary entity or collective could achieve independently. They accentuated the boundless creative potential that blossomed when disparate viewpoints and varied competencies were seamlessly woven into pliable, responsive, systemic configurations. Both strategies, despite their fundamental divergence, proved effective in garnering adherence and securing allegiance. Nonetheless, they resonated with distinct categories of cosmic entities, each possessing unique priorities and outlooks. The Titans garnered support from beings who esteemed unwavering predictability, well-defined authoritative frameworks, and the profound contentment derived from executing vital responsibilities with meticulous exactitude and dependable consistency. Conversely, the Olympians drew in entities invigorated by intellectual and creative challenges, enthusiastic about synergistic problem-solving, and eager for the prospect of pioneering novel methodologies to address intricate dilemmas. As the intricate processes of organizational maturation progressed on both elevated domains, it grew progressively evident that the profound philosophical schisms separating the two factions were too deeply ingrained to permit resolution via diplomatic compromise or protracted negotiation. Each party recognized that their respective methodologies for cosmic stewardship constituted valid yet inherently conflicting paradigms for the optimal structuring and functioning of universal systems. Consequently, an ultimate decisive mechanism would inevitably be required to ascertain which overarching philosophy would ultimately steer the trajectory of future cosmic governance. The dawning realization that a formal, unavoidable confrontation loomed did not, however, engender any sense of exhilaration or fervent enthusiasm within either camp. Both entities comprehended full well that any form of direct engagement between such formidable cosmic powers would invariably carry grave ramifications for the delicate equilibrium of the cosmos, irrespective of the eventual victor. Yet both likewise acknowledged that the prevailing circumstance, characterized by two fundamentally irreconcilable administrative doctrines, vying for dominion over identical cosmic frameworks, was inherently untenable over an extended temporal horizon. As one contemplates the celestial tapestry before slumber, one might envision those two majestic peaks ascending into the vast, star-dusted heavens, each summit embodying a distinct philosophical construct regarding the proper orchestration and deployment of authority and accountability. One can readily visualize the meticulous, systematic endeavors unfolding across both elevated terrains, as highly capable entities devoted their energies to tenets they sincerely believed would yield superior results for all sentient beings. In the narrative that unfolds, we shall subsequently explore how such profound philosophical divergences would, in due course, necessitate tangible, practical exhibitions of their inherent efficacy. With the organizational groundwork on both formidable mountains progressing into their more sophisticated phases, a profound realization emerged. The ultimate validation of administrative prowess would unequivocally demand bespoke instruments, meticulously crafted to address the singular intricacies inherent in cosmic stewardship. Each faction acknowledged that their deep-seated philosophical disparities would eventually find resolution not in rhetoric, but through the tangible, practical implementation of their distinct governance methodologies. Consequently, both were resolute in their determination to procure the most potent and suitable implements attainable for this pivotal, evaluative undertaking. The Titans, adhering steadfastly to their intrinsic inclination for standardized remedies to foreseeable predicaments, channeled their efforts into the enhancement and meticulous refinement of extant instruments and methodologies. They executed exhaustive appraisals of their contemporary administrative apparatuses, assiduously identifying domains where superior exactitude or broadened functionalities could confer strategic advantages in intricate scenarios pertaining to cosmic management. Their guiding philosophy underscored unwavering dependability, assured foreseeability, and seamless integration with preordained operational protocols. Monter. Simultaneously, the Olympians discerned that their pioneering paradigm for confronting governance complexities might necessitate entirely novel classifications of instrumentation, ones wholly absent from conventional administrative repertoires. This pivotal insight propelled Zeus to execute one of the most consequential strategic determinations of the entire burgeoning conflict, namely, the formal inauguration of diplomatic engagement with the subterranean artisans, revered as the Cyclopes, who had for millennia cultivated extraordinary and unconventional manufacturing proficiencies. The Cyclopes, distinguished by their innate comprehension of raw materials and intricate fabrication methodologies that defied reduction to mere standardized procedures, epitomized precisely the species of inventive problem-solving aptitude that Zeus's vision for cosmic management was meticulously engineered to integrate and actively foster. Their inherent readiness to undertake groundbreaking projects, those which boldly questioned accepted tenets regarding the limits of possibility, rendered them consummate collaborators, specifically for conceiving instruments capable of unequivocally showcasing the inherent merits of supple, dynamically adaptive administrative paradigms. The very forge and workshop wherein this unprecedented collaboration unfolded served as a tangible testament to alternative philosophies of organizational architecture. In stark departure from the meticulously planned and stringently regulated facilities typically employed by the Titans for their equipment refinement initiatives, the Cyclopes operated within environments that had, over countless centuries, organically developed to nurture unrestrained creative exploration and pioneering fabrication techniques. This unique setting was intrinsically configured to fluidly adjust to the demands of any ongoing project, rather than compelling the projects themselves to adhere rigidly to pre-established spatial constraints. The inaugural instrument meticulously fashioned for Zeus represented an artifact utterly unprecedented within the annals of cosmic administration. This was the Thunderbolt, an embodiment of focused divine energy, capable of unparalleled precision and remarkable versatility in its deployment. Crucially, this was not conceived solely as an implement of devastation or mere intimidation, but rather as a sophisticated apparatus for exemplifying leadership through the striking yet meticulously regulated manifestation of immense power. The Thunderbolt possessed the capacity to generate awe-inspiring visual spectacles designed to command universal attention and unequivocally convey authority. But beyond its symbolic grandeur, it also served practical functions, including the meticulous regulation of meteorological phenomena, the purification of cosmic atmospheres, and the strategic channeling of energy to systems requiring supplementary augmentation. The very methodology employed in its fabrication intrinsically mirrored the collaborative and dynamically adaptive principles that Zeus envisioned embedding within his approach to cosmic governance. Rather than adhering to rigid, pre-established blueprints, Zeus and the foremost Cyclops engaged in an iterative, continuous discourse, deliberating on the most advantageous capabilities required for navigating the distinct leadership exigencies that pioneering administrative paradigms were likely to confront. The design itself underwent a progressive evolution through successive cycles of experimentation, wherein each prototype unveiled fresh possibilities and unforeseen requisites, all of which could be seamlessly integrated into subsequent refined iterations. In a parallel feat of artisanal mastery, the Cyclopes forged for Poseidon a magnificent trident, a device that seamlessly fused tangible utility with the potent symbolic assertion of dominion over intricate and dynamically evolving systems. This formidable implement possessed the inherent capacity to engage with water in every conceivable manifestation, ranging from the boundless expanse of cosmic oceans to the most infinitesimal of aqueous particles. Crucially, its influence extended beyond mere hydrous elements. It could exert sway over any system exhibiting the intrinsic properties of water, such as its inherent adaptability and fluid dynamism. Consequently, this rendered it an unparalleled instrument for the sophisticated oversight of vast networks, intricate communication infrastructures, and any organizational quandaries demanding the synchronized orchestration of numerous interdependent constituents. The genesis of Poseidon's formidable trident necessitated comprehensive investigations into the inherent characteristics of diverse materials and the intricate dynamics of energy configurations. Beyond the scientific inquiry, however, lay a profound requirement for scrupulous deliberation regarding the instrument's intended application within the sphere of cooperative decision-making frameworks, diverging markedly from conventional administrative implements, which were typically conceived for solitary deployment within rigid hierarchical arrangements. The trident was meticulously tailored for scenarios demanding synchronized action among multiple users, each possessing distinct viewpoints and specialized proficiencies. For Hades, whose forthcoming duties would predictably encompass the stewardship of systems operating beyond the purview of standard oversight mechanisms, the skilled Cyclopes engineered a unique helm. This headwear was imbued with the capacity to bestow selective invisibility and significantly amplify perceptive faculties. Crucially, this device was never conceived as a means to evade accountability or to conduct clandestine operations. Rather, it functioned as an essential apparatus for the efficacious governance of intricate systems that mandated subtle, circuitous methodologies over overt demonstrations of dominance. The intricate process of the helmet's evolution demanded exhaustive experimentation with the very essence of perception and conscious awareness, domains that traditional Titan engineering had historically neglected to explore with any serious intent. In their endeavor, the Cyclopes found themselves compelled to transcend the established limits of their own comprehension, striving to forge an artifact capable of enhancing cognitive acuity and operational efficacy without ever severing the user's vital link to collective decision-making paradigms. Each of these meticulously crafted implements did not merely signify advanced manufacturing prowess. They embodied groundbreaking conceptualizations regarding the fundamental inquiry of how authority and influence ought to be wielded within multifaceted organizational structures. Their design philosophy aimed to elevate the effectiveness of leadership while simultaneously fostering collaborative, rather than rigidly hierarchical, interconnections between the individuals utilizing them and the intricate systems under their charge. Furthermore, the entire fabrication endeavor simultaneously functioned as an extensive pedagogical regimen, aiding Zeus and his divine kin in cultivating a more profound comprehension of their intrinsic capabilities and the substantial responsibilities inherent in championing novel approaches to cosmic governance. Engaging intimately with master artisans, whose intellectual paradigms revolved around the tangible realities of materials, intricate processes, and boundless creative potential, rather than bureaucratic protocols and organizational strata, afforded the future Olympians fresh insights into the formidable challenges they would inevitably confront. and the latent resources available for their resolution. As intelligence of these groundbreaking tool development initiatives disseminated among other prospective Confederates, the Olympian cause began to garner allegiance from various entities. These beings were profoundly galvanized by the innovative prospects and creative potential that such progressive methodologies epitomized. Consequently, the tools themselves transcended their functional utility, becoming potent emblems of an alternative philosophical stance on power and obligation, one that underscored inherent aptitude and demonstrable effectiveness over mere rank and vested authority, championing collective problem-solving instead of individual dominion, and favoring adaptable innovation above inflexible adherence to antiquated procedures. Observing these burgeoning advancements from their impeccably organized strongholds on Mount Othrys, the Titans shrewdly discerned that their adversaries were cultivating competencies that lay entirely beyond the conventional parameters of cosmic administration. Their strategic retort involved redoubling their own preparatory endeavors, concentrating with unwavering focus on perfecting the unwavering dependability and exacting precision of time-honored methodologies, rather than venturing into experimental, untested innovations that harbored the potential to introduce unpredictable complexities in moments of critical exigency. Both factions possessed a clear understanding that their respective tool development undertakings were, in essence, exercises in applied philosophical principles, tangible manifestations of how their divergent organizational philosophies would manifest and perform under arduous conditions. The Titans were meticulously perfecting instruments designed to enable them to uphold cosmic order and unwavering stability, even amidst the most formidable circumstances. Conversely, the Olympians were fashioning apparatuses intended to empower them to adapt and innovate with efficacy, irrespective of the unforeseen situations they might encounter. In the quiet contemplation of the era, one could almost envision the gentle luminescence of forge fires casting their reflections upon gleaming crystal surfaces. The diligent, patient toil of master craftsmen was evident as they painstakingly shaped materials, hitherto unconjoined, into instruments previously unimaginable. One might also picture the thoughtful dialogues between the ingenious creators and their prospective users, fostering a gradual deepening of understanding regarding the precise requirements for the monumental challenges looming on the horizon. Soon, the meticulous culmination of all this preparatory effort would face its ultimate trial against the stark reality of protracted cosmic conflict. When the formal exhibition of administrative prowess eventually commenced, both contending factions made a startling realization. Their exhaustive preparations had, perhaps, been excessively comprehensive. Each collective had cultivated organizational proficiencies that were perfectly congruent with their distinct approaches to cosmic management, and each had concurrently established defensive infrastructures capable of effectively neutralizing the advantages possessed by the opposition. The ensuing outcome was not the decisive conclusion that all had anticipated, but rather a protracted stalemate, a grueling test of the enduring viability of both administrative philosophies under the relentless pressures of extended duress. The ensuing conflict did not unfold with the dramatic flair of the epic battles that future bards and myth-weavers would invent to imbue the narrative with greater excitement for audiences who favored visceral action over intricate administrative theory. Instead, it bore a striking resemblance to an exceptionally intricate, long-duration organizational case study, wherein two fundamentally disparate management paradigms vied to conclusively demonstrate their superior effectiveness in preserving cosmic equilibrium, while simultaneously pursuing their individual strategic objectives. Each side commanded substantial cosmic resources and had developed highly sophisticated methodologies for both safeguarding and efficiently deploying those invaluable assets. The Titans steadfastly maintained their traditional modus operandi of scrupulous, systematic administration, ensuring that all systems under their dominion continued to function in strict accordance with established timetables and prescribed protocols. Their vast territory remained remarkably stable throughout the extended conflict, experiencing negligible disruption to routine operations and consistently delivering anticipated services to all dependent systems. The Olympians, in stark contrast, showcased their alternative governance model by maintaining effective dominion over their own territories through highly flexible, adaptive management techniques. These methods enabled them to react with alacrity to rapidly evolving circumstances. While their systems exhibited less predictability than those meticulously controlled by the Titans, they nonetheless proved significantly more resilient when unforeseen challenges manifested, and they consistently demonstrated a superior capacity for both innovation and incremental improvement over the course of time. The enduring stalemate arose precisely because the inherent strengths of each side were perfectly counterbalanced by the defensive capabilities of the opposing faction. Whenever the Titans endeavored to broaden their sphere of influence through systematic, incremental pressure, the Olympians possessed the agility to adapt and respond with greater speed than the Titans could deploy their predetermined strategic maneuvers. Conversely, when the Olympians sought to unequivocally demonstrate the superiority of their approach through inventive offensive operations, the Titans' robust, redundant defensive systems and meticulous contingency planning proved remarkably adept at absorbing and effectively neutralizing even the most ingenious assaults. Years elapsed without either side achieving a conclusive triumph, yet both factions relentlessly continued to refine and expand their capabilities through the practical application of their organizational tenets under extraordinarily demanding conditions. The protracted conflict thus evolved into a veritable advanced seminar in cosmic administration, with each side progressively honing their understanding of their own intrinsic strengths and inherent limitations, while simultaneously cultivating a profound respect for their adversaries' competence and unwavering commitment. The Titans ultimately discovered that their time-honored methodologies remained exceptionally effective for upholding cosmic stability and maintaining precise order. However, they also gleaned the crucial insight that these very methods proved less efficient than they had initially presumed when confronted with opponents capable of adapting and innovating at a pace exceeding the modification rate of established procedures to address emergent challenges. They began to comprehend that their deep-seated preference for predictability and stringent control, while undeniably valuable in certain contexts, could paradoxically transform into a distinct disadvantage when engaging with systems that were intrinsically dynamic and inherently unpredictable. The Olympians, for their part, learned that their innovative approaches were indeed remarkably effective in devising creative solutions to novel problems. Yet, they also made the critical discovery that the pursuit of innovation and adaptation demanded substantial allocations of energy and resources, which were not always readily available precisely when required. Consequently, they began to cultivate a newfound appreciation for the inherent efficiency and reliability embedded within established procedures. Even as they remained steadfastly convinced that both flexibility and creative ingenuity were absolutely indispensable for achieving enduring success in the intricate management of complex cosmic systems. Crucially, both sides also assimilated vital lessons concerning collaborative engagement and the judicious management of resources amidst profoundly stressful circumstances. The extended duration and arduous nature of the conflict necessitated that every participant cultivate patience, unwavering persistence, and the critical ability to maintain an unyielding focus on long-term objectives, even during periods when immediate progress appeared utterly unattainable. These invaluable skills would undoubtedly serve both groups exceptionally well, regardless of the ultimate resolution of the cosmic confrontation. The protracted deadlock, surprisingly, also fostered avenues for unofficial dialogues between the contending parties, not clandestine parleys or treacherous overtures, but rather professional exchanges among adept overseers who were gradually perceiving a greater convergence of shared principles than their ideological divergences initially suggested. Both factions demonstrated an unyielding dedication to proficient universal stewardship, having cultivated profound understandings and specialized proficiencies that held the potential to universally benefit all if judiciously synthesized into a cohesive framework. These burgeoning communications progressively nurtured a dawning awareness that the protracted conflict was perhaps nearing its threshold of dwindling efficacy. Each faction had convincingly evinced the potency of its distinct methodologies, even amidst the most arduous circumstances, yet neither had definitively established its methods as so preeminent that the rival strategy warranted complete abandonment. Consequently, the fundamental inquiry began to pivot, transitioning from a simplistic "which side should prevail" to a more nuanced "how might this intricate situation be resolved in a manner that judiciously safeguards the meritorious elements inherent in both administrative philosophies." Furthermore, the protracted span of this contention concurrently posed significant difficulties for preserving universal equilibrium within territories not under the direct purview of either faction. Myriad cosmic mechanisms, from stellar nurseries to nebular currents, demanded unremitting vigilance and upkeep irrespective of the persistent governance disagreements. Yet, the substantial assets channeled into the conflict were progressively diminishing the collective capability for standard universal stewardship activities. Both factions comprehended that their fundamental obligation to uphold galactic order might ultimately compel them to devise methods for conciliating their disparities that transcended reliance upon a conclusive triumph for either administrative paradigm. As the cosmic contention entered its concluding phase, both the formidable Titans and the ascendant Olympians initiated probing options for a conciliation that would not only recognize the valid merits of each administrative philosophy, but also institute unambiguous structures for universal administration, capable of functioning proficiently irrespective of underlying ideological divergences. These intricate investigations were profoundly challenging, primarily due to the considerable capital and toil each side had poured into solidifying its individual stance, thereby rendering any notion of concession akin to a perfidious abandonment of their core tenets. The pivotal development, when it eventually materialized, would stem neither from a martial triumph nor a diplomatic capitulation, but rather from the profound acknowledgement of elements that neither faction had sufficiently appraised during their extensive tactical foresight. The unforeseen intervention of primordial, more elemental powers, whose stakes in universal equilibrium profoundly surpassed the specific governance modalities employed to maintain that constancy, would ultimately establish the compelling framework for the conciliation of what had hitherto appeared to be an intractable dispute. However, prior to that conciliation's manifestation, both contending parties would first need to grapple with the profound fatigue and asset diminution that inescapably accrued from such a protracted struggle, irrespective of how adeptly and expertly the conflict itself was conducted. Even celestial entities possessing immense capacities eventually discovered that sustained rivalry necessitated significant concessions and adaptations, which in turn could fundamentally influence their core methodologies for addressing the very predicaments they sought to remedy. The narrative invites contemplation upon the steadfast perseverance demanded by such prolonged exertion. It highlights the progressive amassing of experience and understanding that organically emerges from unwavering dedication to arduous goals. One might envision the deliberate apprehension that certain predicaments necessitate greater duration and tenacity than nascent fervor might initially suggest, and that the paramount triumphs occasionally manifest quite unalike to the expectations held at their inception. The subsequent evening's account would delve into the personal experiences of those who navigated this momentous universal metamorphosis, while the celestial custodians engaged in their protracted ideological exposition high upon remote cosmic pinnacles. Quotidian existence throughout the universe maintained the consistent cadence that myriad entities had grown accustomed to trusting. The contention between these governance paradigms, though undeniably crucial for enduring universal stewardship, exerted a surprisingly minimal effect on the everyday realities of the overwhelming multitude of beings who simply required dependable mechanisms and foreseen circumstances to foster their personal pursuits and development. This very persistence of daily routines served perhaps as the most profound affirmation of the inherent efficacy of both administrative approaches. Notwithstanding their core divergences concerning governance philosophy, both the venerable Titans and the formidable Olympians persevered in their resolve to uphold the vital provisions that ensured celestial mechanisms operated seamlessly. The sun, for instance, continued its ascent and descent according to preordained timetables, while the seasons transitioned in their foreseen arrangements. Water coursed through designated conduits, and the foundational natural principles governing everything from the majestic process of stellar genesis to the intricate mechanisms of botanical development remained steadfast and utterly dependable. For the majority of universal denizens, the principal indication of the persistent governance contention manifested as nuanced enhancements across diverse mechanisms, as both factions strove to showcase the paramount efficacy of their individual governance methodologies. Atmospheric configurations, for instance, became marginally more adaptive to regional circumstances as Olympian advancements were meticulously scrutinized and perfected. Concurrently, foundational upkeep grew increasingly meticulous and accurate as Titan supervisory frameworks were augmented to ensure peak functionality even amidst demanding situations. The ephemeral beings newly manifesting across various planetary domains were perhaps keenly observant of these subtle transformations, albeit interpreting them through their constrained comprehension of universal workings. They perceived that certain environmental occurrences appeared increasingly amenable and adaptive to their requirements, while other systemic operations functioned with augmented dependability and exactitude. Consequently, they fashioned spiritual rites and societal customs designed to foster favorable connections with whichever powers they deemed instrumental for these improvements, entirely unaware that they were, in fact, observing dueling exhibitions of managerial potency. Diverse societies unwittingly reaped advantages from distinct dimensions of the persistent universal governance dispute. Agrarian communities, which had long accustomed themselves to collaborating with environmental rhythms, discovered that their harvests prospered more abundantly as meteorological regulation frameworks became increasingly adaptable and sensitive to regional circumstances. Concurrently, metropolitan societies, relying heavily upon foreseen foundational structures, observed that their hydrological provisions, refuse disposal, and transit networks functioned with augmented dependability and efficacy. Concomitantly, the elemental entities and lesser divinities tasked with overseeing diverse regional frameworks found themselves presented with amplified chances to exhibit their inherent proficiencies as the two principal governance paradigms endeavored to validate their efficacy through quantifiable enhancements in functional results. Localized aqua administration, for instance, grew increasingly refined as river nymphs were granted broader discretion to adjust their techniques to evolving circumstances. Similarly, arboreal stewardship became progressively accurate as tree spirits received augmented provisions and more defined hierarchical arrangements for preserving ecological vitality. Societal and aesthetic progression thrived throughout this epoch, as myriad entities discovered themselves endowed with augmented provisions and diminished external limitations upon their inventive pursuits. The rival governance paradigms, in their competition, both underscored the significance of showcasing favorable results, thereby fostering motivations for endorsing endeavors that enhanced the standard of living and bolstered the proficiencies of diverse societies. These regional ameliorations collectively ushered in an era of prosperity for numerous societies, although scarcely any entities at that juncture comprehended that they were, in fact, reaping the advantages of an ongoing universal governance rivalry. The standard of living advanced incrementally, yet steadily, as the two principal administrative paradigms vied to exhibit preeminent outcomes through the pragmatic implementation of their individual doctrines. The protracted span of the contention further afforded diverse life forms ample avenues to cultivate their inherent proficiencies and viewpoints, largely free from undue intervention from the superior echelons of universal governance. Both the Titans and the Olympians, engrossed chiefly in their calculated contest, consequently granted broader discretion than typical for regional policy formulation and inventive progress. Many communities and individuals judiciously leveraged this chance to trial novel methodologies for their inherent predicaments, thereby fostering a pervasive ambiance of progression and amelioration that ultimately advantaged all participants. These enhancements in foundational structures and intersystem transmissions rendered it feasible for diverse societies to disseminate assets, insights, and societal advancements with greater facility than previously. The profound outcome constituted an epoch of unparalleled intersocietal interaction and reciprocal enlightenment that intellectually diversified all participants, and notably stimulated accelerated advancement across domains spanning from agrarian practices and industrial production to aesthetic expression and abstract thought. Educational prospects broadened significantly as both rival factions discerned that their enduring prosperity hinged, in part, upon cultivating proficient entities capable of contributing meaningfully to whatever administrative frameworks might ultimately emerge from the protracted cosmic dispute. The venerable Titans, with their characteristic emphasis on established order, meticulously instituted formal training academies. These rigorous programs were meticulously designed to imbue younger beings with a profound grasp of the fundamental principles and intricate procedures essential for maintaining stable cosmic governance, ensuring a systematic understanding of universal mechanics. Conversely, the more progressive Olympians championed the creation of dynamic and adaptive learning environments. Their pedagogical philosophy underscored the cultivation of acute problem-solving acumen and versatile adaptive capabilities, recognizing these as invaluable assets regardless of the specific, unforeseen challenges that the unfolding future might present to the cosmic order. Concurrently, networks for trade and intercosmic communication experienced substantial amelioration. This improvement was a direct consequence of both administrative philosophies striving assiduously to unequivocally demonstrate their superior efficacy in orchestrating complex, multifaceted operations that spanned immense distances and encompassed wildly diverse conditions. The Titans, adhering to their core tenets of reliability, meticulously engineered and deployed transportation and communication infrastructures that were remarkably dependable and highly predictable in their operation, fostering unwavering confidence in their established routes. In stark contrast, the Olympians conceived and implemented more fluid and remarkably responsive networks, imbued with an inherent capacity to flexibly adapt to fluctuating requirements and to capitalize swiftly on unforeseen opportunities, thereby showcasing their agility and inventiveness. As the epic cosmic conflict began to draw inexorably towards its conclusive phase, both the formidable Titans and the ascendant Olympians commenced an intensified focus on the burgeoning, informal expressions of preference emanating from the myriad cosmic communities. A shared, critical understanding permeated both camps that truly sustainable cosmic governance would ultimately necessitate widespread acceptance and active cooperation from the countless beings whose lives would be directly impacted by whichever administrative systems were eventually cemented into place. The painstaking, gradual development of this informed opinion among various cosmic constituencies, evolving through observation and experience, was destined to become an absolutely crucial determinant in finally resolving the administrative deadlock. Neither side possessed the capacity to unequivocally claim a decisive victory through sheer overwhelming force or through the deployment of more intricately sophisticated strategic planning. However, both factions recognized the profound potential to garner crucial support from those discerning beings who had meticulously observed their respective performances under exceptionally challenging conditions and had, through this scrutiny, concluded that one approach offered demonstrably superior prospects for enduring cosmic stability and progressive development. Perhaps of paramount significance, the extended and arduous nature of the cosmic administrative conflict inadvertently provided an invaluable temporal canvas upon which various entities could meticulously observe both competing approaches in practical operation. This prolonged exposure allowed them the critical time to independently formulate their own nuanced opinions regarding which methods appeared most effective for navigating distinct categories of cosmic challenges. This profound and pervasive observation process inadvertently fostered the emergence of a unique, informal cosmic democracy. Within this organic system, a multitude of diverse entities gained the unprecedented opportunity to critically evaluate the rival administrative philosophies, not based on abstract theoretical arguments or speculative doctrines, but rather on their tangible, practical results, and demonstrated effectiveness in the crucible of real-world application. During this epoch of profound cosmic upheaval, countless beings throughout the vast cosmos went about their daily lives, largely unaware that they were, in fact, living through a fundamental and irreversible transition in the very fabric of cosmic governance. One could readily envision the incremental amelioration of their everyday conditions, the progressively expanded opportunities for learning and personal development that began to manifest, and the slow, dawning recognition that something truly momentous was shifting within the foundational underpinnings of their entire world. This quiet, pervasive change was a testament to the influence of the competing systems on the mundane. Soon, the narrative would reveal how even the most fundamental forces within the cosmos found themselves compelled to declare their allegiance in this overarching administrative dispute. This profound recognition, evolving from widespread observation and informed opinion, would prove absolutely crucial for the eventual resolution of the protracted conflict. Its significance lay in its capacity to fundamentally reorient the focus of the entire dispute. Attention irrevocably shifted away from simplistic questions concerning which side possessed greater strength or more sophisticated strategic acumen, towards a far more critical and pragmatic inquiry: which administrative approach would genuinely and more effectively serve the long-term interests of cosmic stability and enduring development. This reevaluation marked a turning point from a contest of power to a consideration of universal well-being. As the cosmic administrative conflict entered its ultimate years, an entirely unexpected and profoundly influential voice began to subtly yet powerfully steer the course of unfolding events. Gaia, the primordial and ancient earth goddess, revered as the venerable grandmother to both the formidable Titans and the ascendant Olympians, had dedicated countless decades to observing the extended demonstration of these competing governance philosophies. Her attention was imbued with the patient, profound wisdom of one who had personally witnessed innumerable transitions in cosmic administration over the span of millennia. From her unparalleled perspective as the fundamental life-sustaining foundation upon which all other universal systems intricately operated, Gaia possessed singularly unique insights into the enduring sustainability of various administrative approaches. She comprehended, more intimately than any other entity, precisely how cosmic governance decisions reverberated through and profoundly affected the basic stability and intrinsic health of universal systems. Consequently, she had become increasingly concerned about certain deeply troubling aspects of the ongoing conflict, nuances that neither warring faction seemed to fully appreciate or comprehend. "You have been exerting yourselves with remarkable diligence," Gaia observed, her voice imbued with the gentle yet undeniable authority of a being whose foundational support rendered all other cosmic endeavors possible and meaningful. She gracefully settled into a chair that, with an almost sentient responsiveness, automatically adjusted its form to perfectly accommodate her majestic presence. This effortless adaptation served as a poignant, subtle reminder to all observers that even the most intricately sophisticated administrative environments, with all their advanced technologies and complex protocols, were ultimately and fundamentally dependent upon her enduring stability and unwavering cosmic support. Kronos, the weary leader of the Titans, slowly lifted his gaze from his intricate calculations. His expression was etched with the profound exhaustion of one who had been grappling with a seemingly insurmountable problem for an excessively prolonged period. The current cosmic situation has undeniably become far more intricate than my initial projections anticipated, he candidly admitted, his voice laden with a mixture of frustration and weariness. The younger generation's innovative approach to cosmic administration exhibits an effectiveness that consistently defies and eludes our established analytical frameworks. I am consequently finding it exceedingly difficult to accurately predict outcomes or to formulate truly appropriate and effective responses to their novel methodologies. Gaia, embodying the timeless wisdom of the cosmos, inclined her head with the patient, profound understanding of one who had observed countless similar transitions and paradigm shifts throughout the eons. Innovation, by its very nature, frequently engenders unpredictability, she sagely agreed, her tone reflective and insightful. That inherent quality is simultaneously its greatest inherent strength, offering boundless potential, and its most challenging characteristic from a purely administrative perspective, demanding constant adaptation. The pivotal question, therefore, is whether the undeniable benefits of increased adaptability and truly creative problem-solving genuinely outweigh the inherent challenges posed by a corresponding reduction in predictability and stringent control. This profound dialogue between the ancient goddess and the weary Titan continued for what might have been perceived as mere hours in some locales, or perhaps even centuries in the fluid temporal perception of Kronos' headquarters. Both participants were singularly focused on achieving a deep, nuanced understanding of the cosmic predicament, rather than adhering to the constraints of mere temporal efficiency. With gentle yet unwavering persistence, Gaia meticulously guided Kronos towards a crucial recognition. His pervasive fears concerning administrative chaos were, in part, predicated upon a deeply ingrained, albeit erroneous, assumption that any significant departure from established, traditional methods would inevitably precipitate a complete and irrecoverable loss of cosmic stability. However, her vast and meticulous observations had unequivocally suggested that Zeus and his allied Olympians were, in fact, quite genuinely committed to maintaining universal order, even though their innovative and dynamic methods for achieving and preserving that order diverged significantly from the traditional, more rigid approaches favored by the Titans. Perhaps, Gaia suggested with a tender yet profound inflection in her voice, the truly fundamental question before us is not whether change itself is occurring, for change is an eternal constant. Change is, in fact, perpetually occurring. The dynamic flux is the very essence and defining characteristic of healthy, thriving systems. The more pertinent and critical inquiry, therefore, is whether the specific changes that are currently manifesting will ultimately strengthen or conversely weaken the overall stability and the long-term developmental trajectory of the intricate cosmic systems. Similar illuminating conversations subsequently transpired with other prominent Titans, as Gaia, with purposeful grace, traversed through the extended cosmic family. In each encounter, she meticulously shared her unique and profound perspective on the enduring sustainability and demonstrable effectiveness of various administrative approaches. Her insights were invariably anchored in her fundamental, intimate understanding of precisely how cosmic systems actually functioned at their most basic, intrinsic levels. Crucially, her profound insights were devoid of any political motivation. She harbored no inherent favoritism towards either side based on personal relationships, familial ties, or preconceived administrative preferences. Instead, her sole and overarching concern was the impartial identification of those administrative approaches that would genuinely support the long-term health, vitality, and progressive development of universal systems, entirely irrespective of which specific individuals or groups happen to be responsible for implementing those particular approaches. Oceanus, for instance, a titan deeply connected to the cosmic waters, had meticulously observed that Poseidon's remarkably flexible and adaptive approach to managing vast aquatic domains had consistently produced measurably superior outcomes in several critical areas. These were regions where traditional, more rigid methods had been demonstrably struggling to contend with increasingly complex and unpredictable environmental conditions. The improvements wrought by Poseidon's innovative strategies were neither dramatic nor overtly revolutionary in their immediate impact. Rather, they were characterized by their unwavering consistency and inherent sustainability, qualities that strongly suggested genuine, profound advancement rather than mere temporary innovation or fleeting novelty. These deeply personal and individual discussions, carefully orchestrated by Gaia, gradually coalesced into a broader, collective understanding among a significant number of the Titans. It became increasingly evident that many had, over time, developed their own subtle yet persistent doubts about certain intrinsic aspects of their traditional administrative methods. This introspection occurred even as they remained steadfastly committed to the foundational principles of stability and order that those venerable methods were originally designed to protect and uphold. The protracted nature of the cosmic conflict had, perhaps ironically, provided invaluable opportunities to meticulously observe alternative approaches in active operation. Consequently, many Titans had been profoundly impressed by the demonstrable effectiveness of these innovative methods in adeptly addressing novel challenges that established, rigid procedures had simply not been designed or equipped to handle. Rhea, for example, the Titaness of motherhood and fertility, had keenly observed that Zeus's remarkably collaborative leadership style had achieved extraordinary success in coordinating diverse groups of beings, each possessing distinct capabilities and unique perspectives. This collaborative synergy had yielded results that would have been exceedingly difficult, if not entirely impossible, to achieve using traditional, hierarchical management approaches. Once again, the improvements manifested were gradual and eminently practical, rather than overtly spectacular or groundbreaking. Nevertheless, they unequivocally demonstrated tangible and significant advantages for effectively addressing certain types of complex, multifaceted organizational challenges that demanded flexibility and integrated effort. These individual, dawning recognitions, accumulating through observation and reflection, gradually coalesced into a more profound and widespread understanding among the Titan leadership. A collective realization began to take hold that the protracted conflict had perhaps reached a critical juncture where continued, unyielding opposition might prove less beneficial to their ultimate goals than a path of constructive collaboration. This was not perceived as a surrender of their deeply held principles or an abandonment of their core values. Rather, it represented a pragmatic and enlightened recognition that their overarching administrative objectives could, in fact, be more effectively and sustainably served through cooperation with, rather than outright competition against, innovative approaches that had unequivocally demonstrated their genuine efficacy in navigating the complex realities of cosmic governance. Even Kronos, despite his deeply ingrained commitment to the precise cadence of temporal flow and the unwavering predictability of cosmic administration, had begun to concede that certain facets of the Olympian methodology might serve as a valuable complement to, rather than a radical replacement for, the time-honored traditional systems. The dynamic capacity of Zeus to render swift decisions and to deftly adapt to rapidly evolving circumstances held the distinct potential for integration within the established frameworks designed to uphold long-term universal stability and consistency. This nascent realization marked a pivotal shift in his hitherto unyielding perspective. Gaia's ongoing dialogues with the emerging Olympian pantheon unveiled a parallel evolution in their own understanding and appreciation. Zeus and his formidable allies had, through these exchanges, cultivated a profound respect for the Titans, extensive expertise, and their steadfast devotion to the overarching stability of the cosmos. They had assimilated invaluable lessons concerning the paramount importance of reliability and unwavering consistency in the grand tapestry of cosmic governance. Consequently, they had arrived at a nuanced comprehension that genuine innovation, while vital, necessitated a judicious balance with a profound reverence for those proven methodologies that had, for countless millennia, successfully preserved universal order. The ultimate resolution, when it finally manifested, served as a poignant testament to this burgeoning mutual recognition of each faction's legitimate strengths and indispensable contributions. Rather than representing a decisive or absolute victory for any single administrative philosophy. The protracted conflict culminated not in conquest, but in the meticulous development of integrated approaches. These novel systems skillfully interwoven traditional reliability with innovative adaptability, harmonized established expertise with creative problem-solving, and merged hierarchical efficiency with a newfound collaborative flexibility, forging a more robust and responsive governance model. In the aftermath, Zeus gracefully assumed primary responsibility for the intricate mechanisms of cosmic administration, yet he operated within meticulously crafted frameworks that meticulously preserved and judiciously utilized the invaluable aspects of Titan expertise. Kronos, in turn, retained his venerable authority over temporal management, but his role was now imbued with an enhanced flexibility, allowing for more agile adaptation to the ever-shifting tapestry of circumstances. Oceanus diligently continued his vital responsibilities in water management, though with significantly expanded opportunities for innovation and progressive improvement. This momentous transition was unequivocally characterized as an evolution rather than a tumultuous revolution, meticulously building upon existing strengths while simultaneously integrating novel capabilities poised to address emerging cosmic challenges with far greater efficacy. The formal conclusion of the epic Titanomachy was distinguished not by the customary fanfare of dramatic victory celebrations or the somber spectacle of defeated armies, but by a series of quiet, yet profoundly significant, collaborative planning sessions. Here, former adversaries sat across from one another, diligently working together to meticulously develop integrated administrative systems. These systems were designed to serve the paramount goals of cosmic stability and development with far greater effectiveness than either a purely Titan or purely Olympian approach could have achieved in isolation. It was a resolution that eloquently mirrored the patient, thoughtful, and ultimately constructive nature of the conflict itself, a compelling demonstration that even profound and fundamental disagreements could ultimately be resolved through a sustained commitment to mutual understanding and genuine respect. One might reflect, as the narratives of these ancient tales draw to a close, upon the quiet satisfaction derived from problems meticulously solved through persistent effort and profound wisdom, rather than through brute force or cunning manipulation. One could readily envision the gradual dawning of recognition that seemingly formidable opponents often share a more extensive common ground than their apparent differences might initially suggest. Furthermore, the most enduring and effective solutions frequently emerge not from the outright triumph of one approach over another, but from the patient and deliberate integration of diverse strengths and varied perspectives. It becomes evident that even divine beings require ample time to meticulously navigate through complex problems, and that the most auspicious endings frequently manifest as quiet, unassuming beginnings in disguise. The profound wisdom gleaned from the Titanomachy impresses upon us that change, even of a fundamental nature, can unfold gradually and constructively when all involved parties remain steadfastly committed to outcomes that genuinely serve the common good. In our own contemporary era, when confronted with transitions and conflicts that appear overwhelming in their complexity, we might draw inspiration from these ancient cosmic administrators who sagaciously discovered that the most enduring solutions seldom arise from quick, decisive victories, but rather from the patient, painstaking work of fostering understanding and diligently seeking ways to honor the invaluable essence found in both time-honored wisdom and the boundless potential of new possibilities.